Welcome to the solution description part 5 for SAP NetWeaver single sign-on using X509 certificates. The last step in the configuration is now to configure user mapping information in application server ABAP and application server Java. So we will do this step by step. For every client application, we will verify how this will be performed. As we can see, we receive our certificate. So we have a security token. We start SAP logon application and we will enable SNC now. Right click on the profile and choose in the tab Network, the SNC settings and activate. Now let's try if it works. So the certificate was accepted, but the user mapping information is missing. You can see SNC is enabled, the communication is encrypted. So the missing part here is to tell the system that this certificate belongs to this user. Therefore, we will start the user management and check the configuration. Here we can see there's a missing mapping information. So what we can do is we can use Secure Client, mark the profile, and copy the information inside in order to reduce typos. Let's try again. Now it works. With this configuration, SAP Business clients will work too. So there's no additional configuration required. Start the connection and you will see the password file is great, so it will not be used. Only click OK or configure automatically login. And we are authenticated here. Let's have a look to the Web GUI client, the browser integration. As the Secure client receives the certificate, Secure client can also provide the certificate to the Microsoft Certificate Store, so the browser can use the certificate. Let's start the authentication to the application server ABAP. Here we can see the authentication does not work. Please keep in mind the SSL server certificates are provided by a different PKI. Now we can use secure communication, but authenticate with username and password. You see SNC is enabled. Start transaction as trust and let's have a look to the SSL server certificate. As we can see, this SSL server certificate was created by a different PKI. So the trust to the secure login server is missing. This is something we can configure now. And we can import the root certificate of the secure login server. An easy way is to use the client certificate in the certificate chain and copy the root certificate, by example, to the desktop. Now we can import this certificate and add to the certificate list. So the trust is now enabled. We need to save the configuration. And we can try again. It is still not working because there's one step missing. We need to tell the system again that this certificate belongs to this user. As the SSL interface is different than the SNC interface, there is an extra user mapping information required for the external ID mapping. Therefore, create a new entry here. And assign the certificate name to this user. Now it works. Now let's have a look to the application server Java, in this case Enterprise Portal. So how does it work here in application server Java to configure user mapping and certificate trust? Therefore, we will log on to the NetWeaver administrator. Choose Configuration and SSL. We can see that this SSL server certificate was created by a different PKI. Again, we need to establish trust relation for our secure login server PKI. Therefore, we will import our secure login server root certificate. The second step is to configure the user mapping information. Therefore, we will start Configuration tab, Authentication and Single Sign-On. Choose the desired login module stack. In our case, we will choose Ticket. Add the login module client cert login module. Application server Java offers a role-based certificate name mapping option. Therefore, in our configuration, we will use the CN file, common name file, to fetch the SAP username in order to perform user mapping. After we save the configuration, we can test the environment. With the configuration in Application Server Java and Application Server ABAP, NetWeaver Business Client will work too. The demo implementation is finished here. Of course, this is not a way to perform mass rollout for thousands of users. Therefore, there are several options available. The best solution would be to use the SAP Identity Management System. He will take care of the whole life cycle of a user, beginning from a new user is created and until the user will leave the company. So everything is predefined and you can configure it here. And this is the easiest way. Other options are to use tools like ARIS USR 300 or ARIS USR XID to schedule these reports to perform the user mapping information. In the next step, we will show how the tools described in option 2 can be used to perform user mapping information. So we will authenticate as an administrator. And we will use the transaction SNC1. This is the so-called badge mode. Here you can define a user group or all user with star. You can define to override existing SNC names or not. In our example, we will perform it for these user groups here. Then we have a prefix string, in our case p column cn equal. The username will be put automatically from this tool. And the second information is the suffix, in our case the organization unit SAP security. Now if we start the tool, we can see which user will be changed. If you press the save button, it is done. Let's verify if this information is also available in the user management. This is the case. The second tool works similar, but is responsible for the external ID user mapping information. It's the same concept. You can choose users or user groups, define a prefix and a suffix. In our case, we will use the external ID type DN for distinguished name. can verify the settings using the transaction xid_dn. And here we can see it was written, the information.